The cameras flashed, the microphones buzzed, and the nation braced itself. On the steps of the Capitol, Kamala Harris stood tall, her voice sharp as steel, her words aimed at none other than Donald Trump and his closest circle of billionaire allies. What she unveiled wasn't just another partisan jab, it was a bombshell. $180 million. That was the figure she placed on the table, alleging theft, collusion, and corruption at the very heart of power. Her speech carried the cadence of both accusation and revelation. The American people deserve to know the truth, Harris declared, her hand cutting through the air for emphasis. This is not politics as usual. This is theft. Theft from hardworking citizens by those who thought they were untouchable. The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in gasps. Reporters scrambled to capture every word, every pause, every ounce of fire in her delivery. Trump's name was tied directly to a figure so staggering that even seasoned political watchers struggled to process it. And she wasn't alone in her charge. Harris pointed to a circle of billionaires, men who had bankrolled campaigns, profited from policies, and built empires under Trump's watch. She named them as co-conspirators in what she framed as a betrayal of the American people. Meanwhile, Trump remained silent, at least for the moment. Cameras turned toward his residence, pundits speculated wildly, and social media lit up like a wildfire. Was this the beginning of Trump's ultimate unraveling, or was it just another episode in America's ongoing political theater? The opening salvo was clear. Kamala Harris wasn't just calling out Trump. She was building the stage for a confrontation that would grip the nation. The question wasn't whether this story would dominate the headlines. It already had. The question was how far the shockwaves would reach, and who else would be caught in the blast. And as Harris's words echoed across the Capitol steps, the sense was unmistakable. This was only the beginning. The headlines the next morning screamed across every screen, $180 million scandal rocks Washington. News anchors replayed Harris's fiery speech on loop, each network dissecting every gesture, every phrase, every insinuation. But behind the spectacle, deeper questions emerged. Could Harris prove her claims? And more importantly, how would Trump strike back? Inside closed doors, whispers swirled. Trump's allies dismissed the allegations as political theater, but unease was visible. A sum of $180 million wasn't the kind of number you could brush aside. It carried weight, and the public knew it. Commentators on both the left and the right demanded answers. Harris's team, meanwhile, fed the flames. They released documents, fragments of financial records, questionable transfers, and links between Trump's businesses and billionaire donors who had quietly grown richer under his administration. The implication was clear. This wasn't just corruption, it was theft carried out under the shield of power. On Capitol Hill, the scandal dominated the air. Senators sidestepped questions, House members split into factions, and the halls of Congress buzzed with rumors of emergency hearings. Harris herself doubled down, appearing in interviews with a steady, unflinching tone. If we allow this to go unanswered, she told one interviewer, then we have surrendered the rule of law to the rule of greed. Trump, finally breaking his silence, responded with trademark defiance. In a statement blasted across his social media platform, he called the accusations the biggest witch hunt in American history and accused Harris of fabricating evidence to boost her own political ambitions. His words ignited his base, and soon rallies across the country featured chants of "hands off Trump." But the clash was no longer just between Harris and Trump. It had spilled into the bloodstream of American politics, polarizing every conversation. Was Harris exposing the crime of the century, or orchestrating the performance of a lifetime? One thing was undeniable: the stakes were climbing. The scandal was no longer just a headline. It was becoming the story that would define the battle for power in Washington. The tension exploded when Harris demanded that Trump and his billionaire allies face questioning under oath. In a packed congressional hearing room, she presented a thick binder of evidence, charts, transaction records, and testimonies that painted a picture of shadowy deals and offshore accounts. $180 million didn't just disappear, she declared. It was siphoned, redirected, and laundered through the hands of men who thought they were untouchable. The chamber erupted. Some lawmakers applauded. Others shouted objections. Trump's legal team immediately pounced, calling the evidence a pile of fabrications. But Harris pressed forward, zeroing in on what she called the smoking gun, a series of wire transfers linking Trump-owned entities to a billionaire consortium overseas. Trump himself sat stone-faced at the table, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with anger. At one point, he slammed his hand down and interrupted. "This is a disgrace. I built this country back from ruin, and now you stand here with lies and fake numbers?" His voice shook the room, his supporters nodding furiously behind him. Harris didn't flinch. "You built a system of corruption," she shot back, "and when the truth comes out, it won't be me who destroys your legacy. It will be your own greed." Gasps filled the chamber, cameras zoomed in, headlines were already being written as the dramatic exchange unfolded. For the public watching at home, it was more than political theater. It was a battle for moral authority, played out live and raw. The hearing dragged late into the night, with witnesses called, objections raised, and tempers flaring. Yet through it all, Harris remained composed, while Trump's anger only deepened. The contrast was striking. One figure appearing steady, methodical, and relentless, the other fiery, combative, and cornered. By the end of the day, the story had reached a fever pitch. Analysts on every network declared it the defining clash of the decade. Supporters of both sides claimed victory, but for the millions watching, the question lingered. Was Harris bringing down a corrupt empire, or was Trump once again fighting to survive against an establishment that had always sought to end him? As the dust settled from the hearing, the world outside the Capitol was already on fire. Protesters flooded the streets, some carrying banners that read "Justice for the People," while others waved Trump flags, chanting that Harris was part of a grand conspiracy. The divide had never felt sharper, and the scandal had transformed into a symbol of America's fractured soul. Cable news lit up with panel debates. Some praised Harris for her courage, calling her stand the boldest strike against entrenched corruption in decades. Others condemned her, accusing her of staging a political spectacle designed to humiliate Trump rather than deliver justice. The truth, as always, was buried somewhere in between, but the perception was powerful. Trump, far from retreating, doubled down. At a rally days later, he roared to a sea of supporters, "They want to destroy me because I fight for you. This isn't about $180 million. It's about stopping a movement that Washington can't control." His words electrified the crowd, and the battle lines hardened further. Meanwhile, Harris used her newfound spotlight to press forward, calling for independent investigations and special committees. "This fight," she said, "is not just about numbers in a ledger. It's about the soul of our democracy." Her words echoed across the media landscape, resonating with those who saw her as a rare voice of accountability in a system long dominated by money and power. And so, the story reached its climax not with a verdict, but with a question. Could Harris's revelations truly topple the empire Trump and his billionaire allies had built? Or would the scandal become just another headline buried beneath the noise of partisan warfare? One thing was certain, this was no ordinary clash. It was a battle of narratives, power, and survival. A story that blurred the line between justice and spectacle, truth and performance. And for those watching, one question remained. In the theater of American politics, who do you believe? If you found this breakdown powerful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Was this Harris's finest hour, or just another chapter in the endless drama of Washington? Stay tuned because the story is far from over.